Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with CLNotes, and this is the second video in a three-video series for the Chinese department at UBC. And in this video, I'm going to show you how we can take some of the resources that we imported in the last video and how teachers and students can actively interact with these resources in their classrooms. So, since students really enjoy using multimodal resources, I thought maybe we could dive into the YouTube video that we imported earlier. So, in this YouTube video here, we can see that on this page, we have the video and we have all of the subtitles, quite a lot of text here. And the really great thing about CLNotes is it has these built-in dictionaries. And it also has a language auto-detect feature. And of course, it's auto-detected here that the language is in Chinese. And we have a dictionary all ready to go. If we click on dictionary here at the top, we have a Chinese-English dictionary all set. So what that means is that we can go through this article here and we can choose different words and we can get the definitions of them right away. But before we do anything, I noticed that the text size is a little bit small for me. I like the text size to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click on font size at the top here. I'm going to click extra large. And now if we go down through this text, we can see that it's a lot bigger, a lot easier to see. Now, for example, I might be listening to this YouTube video, following along, looking at the subtitles here. And if you don't understand something or you want to know more about a word, then you can click on that and you will get a pop-up with the definition in English. And it also tells you with pinyin about the correct pronunciation. In this case, it would be 大家. And we can go through and see, of course, some easier words, but we can go through and find just different words. And as a teacher, perhaps some of these are words that I would like to teach in my class or some things, particular concepts I would like to highlight. And so perhaps as a teacher, one thing I might do is I know that a certain amount of these words are going to be on a quiz or a test or something like that. So usually what I do when I teach my English classes is I usually go through beforehand and just find a whole bunch of words that I'd like the students to know, and I just kind of pre-select some of them. So this is what that would look like. You might want to pre-select something. Or if this is a student-led activity, the students would be the first ones to choose their article and go through them, and perhaps you could get the students to select different concepts or words that they would like to teach to their fellow classmates. Next, I'd like to talk about another important feature, which is annotation. And this is really important for if you'd like to signify that some paragraph has some special meaning, or if you want to highlight some idiomatic phrase or expression, or you just want to give students a heads up that a certain section will be uh, particularly vital for part of an exam or a test or something like that, then we go up to the top here. And if we go up to the second tab, there's a reading tab. We click on this and then click on annotate. Now, we make this a separate thing. So, of course, as you remember, we can click on a word, but we also now have the ability to drag along, for example, a paragraph like this. And after you drag along the paragraph, you get a pop-up. And this gives you many options. You can make a comment, or you can ask a question, maybe to start some discussions in your classroom, or you can give a definition, all kinds of things. And if you give a definition, what's really interesting here is you can use the definition as something for an automated test later. So you could say, for example, this paragraph means uh, something important like part of the Qing dynasty, something like that. And then this will be something that you can use to make a test activity from later. And as you see here, when we highlight our mouse over top of this, we get a pop-up that tells us what the annotation is. So this is very useful. And also, for example, if students do that, students can annotate their own things. Now, we made annotation something that you can turn on and off. And the reason is because some people use tablets or their phones these days, and sometimes the difference between a click and dragging your mouse along something can be very difficult to determine for the program. So sometimes, like, you'll want to annotate something, but you accidentally click something, and it just becomes very difficult. So we made annotations and clicking two very separate functions. So it's important to remember to turn on and turn off the annotation function. And also equally as important, if we go back to the main page here, is clicking save, because of course you want to make sure that you save the annotations that you make, like this one, or the vocabulary words that you've clicked, things like that. Now, we're going to look at another feature in CLNotes, which is one of my favorite features because it's something that allows teachers to get a really good view into what the students are having trouble with, or what they're having difficulties with, or maybe just what the topic of their interests are. And so what we will do, we're going to go to Teacher Tools here, and then we're going to click on the button that says Real Time. Now, what this does is this allows us to see what kinds of things our students are currently looking at in terms of vocabulary words, in terms of topics that they're currently looking at. And so what we're going to do here is currently it's grouping by vocabulary words, and you can see a lot of the words that we have chosen. But what we're going to do is click on Group by Readers. So I'm currently using my laptop, and I'm logged in as a student as well off the screen, and I'm selecting different words. Not any words in particular, just some words that I'm coming across here. And as I select these words, every once in a while, this window on the left refreshes, and it's telling me in real time what the students, or in this case, what I am currently looking at in the class. So it's going to continue to load up some of the words that I'm clicking on as I go through this. So you can see here that it's continually updating as I'm reading and as I'm clicking on certain words or certain concepts here. Now, this is very, very useful because if you have a class of 30 students, you can see what each student, and so for example, this will not say student number one. Later on, if you're using this with your class, it will have that student's name. So you will know exactly what each student in your class is having trouble with in terms of grammar, vocabulary. And this is something that, as myself as a language teacher, this is one of the most difficult parts of teaching language, of knowing exactly what people are having trouble with. And another cool thing here is if we group by words, it looks like I've chosen all different words on both the teacher and student account. But if multiple people choose similar words, here instead of saying times one, it might say something like times two, or times five, or times 10. Well, here's one word that was highlighted by both the teacher and the student. So you can see here that it says times two. So as a teacher, this is such a valuable tool for knowing exactly what's going on in your class. And so these tools here for searching up words are just so wonderful and so useful. I'm actually going to go back to the top left tab here and save again. I just like to save, and you can see here that more terms have been added by students, and it also tells me that I've added one annotation here. So the top of the screen tells us how many times I've saved and all those kinds of things. There's one more thing I'd like to look at, which is very useful, that is great for students who are really multimodal and want to kind of learn about words in different ways, is if we go up to the second tab and click reading here, we have some features like, for example, image words. And this feature here is really great because it allows students to search for images of vocabulary words. And in many cases, this can help students who are graphic oriented. So for example, myself, I love to see a picture of a word or a concept when I'm learning something. And that helps me so much. So for example, one of these words here, I can look up a picture on Google or on Bing, or I could find videos on YouTube, or I can search for the concept in Wikipedia. So these basically are all links. So for example, I have Google Images selected here, and if I choose a word like 大家, then I get a bunch of images here. And maybe in some cases, this will help. Like, for example, you see a group of people here. I'm sure that some of these images might be resonant for some people. Some of them are quite strange, but that's it's a little bit hit and miss sometimes. But in terms of making the words a lot more multimodal, it's very useful. And again, we can go back here and we can search up videos on YouTube of something, things in Wikipedia. Right, click on Wikipedia here, and you search for something, and Wikipedia does not have an article on this particular thing, but there are a lot of vocabulary words that do have articles written on them that give us a lot more information on those topics. So that is how we can interact with resources in a really cool way on CLNotes, in a way that really allows students, especially for example, when we're able to click on words and just get meanings for them right away, uh, like this is so great because when I'm having a conversation in another language, I don't want to be looking down in my dictionary, searching for something manually. Just being able to click on it quickly like this uh, in mid conversation and find out what a word means is just so valuable. And it helps so much for when you want to be able to continue conversing with your group collaboratively, but you don't want to interrupt the conversation because you don't know what a word means. I hope you all enjoyed this, and in the next video, I'm going to show you about how you can make some really interesting activities from the interactions of both yourself and your students in CLNotes. Remember, with CLNotes, you can teach more efficiently and learn more effectively. And once again, I'm Adam, and have a great day. Bye-bye.